Well, that previous one was a bit of a short one. Tiffany B, Seeing, Feeling, Hearing, and Being with Spirit. Still working through chapter 12, Guides, Loved Ones, and Past Lives by Kuan Yin. So this chapter is also about reincarnation. It's about soul families. And, hopefully it will change some minds about some things. Reincarnation. This is the process by which the soul comes into Gaia to learn lessons, good and bad, in order to develop and refine the art of living. We can have many, many lives if you are a slow learner, or just a few if you have learned quickly. Some of the ascended masters decided to sample life. They know this is harder than up there in source, and sometimes the ascended masters likes a challenge. Saint Jerome has come down recently, just over the last 14 years, and is living through life. The new warriors and healers are coming back more. Oops. There are some memories. The more progressed lives are more likely to remember some things. That is how Buddha is chosen. The way that humans select the next Buddha is by going around to many villages, testing the new children to see if they are the next Buddha reincarnate. A selection of objects from the previous Buddha is gathered, and other ordinary household items that the Buddha may have used. The objects include some of his childhood toys from the previous life. It could be a pen, a toy, or even just a book that was precious to the last Buddha. In total, there are generally 20 items that the boy or girl needs to identify to show that they are the true Buddha reincarnate. When the children are tested by the elders, they note what is picked up by the child. If they get it all correct, all 20 of their own personal items, there are 40 items in total. Then they are taken away to start studying the scriptures and will be groomed and taught by the elders to become the next Buddha. There have been over 10,000 Buddhas to date, and this is a tried and tested way of selection of the new Buddha. Others will have a sense of familiarity and comfort when in the presence, or something familiar, or something which has been in their lives beforehand. It is possible to find out more about our past lives, but remember they are past lives and should have no bearing on your life now. Learn from them. There may be a reason why you are drawn to this particular trait or profession. Some of you will gravitate towards each other because of past lives together. It could be to right wrongs from the past, or to learn how to get on with this person. And the lesson is dynamic, needs to be learnt and stabilised rather than remaining erratic and or dramatic. If you feel you have a relationship dynamic or issue in this life, then look at it. What rubs you up the wrong way? Do you grate on each other's nerves? How can you ever be in the same room as each other? This is the lesson of the contract that perhaps needs to be solved. A simple explanation is that you could have been on opposing sides in war, and you came up against each other in the battlefield. Whereas if you feel comfortable and are a good team, either at the office or on the field, then perhaps you have been brothers in arms. There are many explanations as to why people have certain relationships and lives together. So sometimes you just have an affinity with people. Sometimes you go, I like you. Why do I like you? I feel as though I've met you before. But you actually haven't in this life. But there may be a soul connection deeper from the last life, the other lives. And it's just about finding out what really is there, if you want to, of course. Everything is free choice and there is no judgment. So it's about whether you want to learn how important this other soul was. You can find out through a meditation. You can find out through other people who are psychics or mediums. They can let you know. There are many ways. Sometimes it will come in dreams. You just have to be around, or lucid, I guess, in that lucid sleep state. Often you get messages that way. But it's up to you, depending on whether you want to know what your past lives were or whether you don't. Anyway, I shall continue reading. This is an example of a past life. Suyith and Sami. Born in Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, Suyith was barely old enough to speak when he began to tell his family of a previous life as a man named Sami. Sami, he said, had lived 8 miles to the south of the village of Gorakana. Suyith told of Sami's life as a railroad worker and as a dealer of bootleg whiskey called arak. After an argument with his wife, Maggie, Sami stormed out of his house and got drunk. and while walking along a busy highway was struck by a truck and killed. Young Suyuth often demanded to be taken to Gorakhana and had an abnormal taste for cigarettes and arak. Suyuth's family had never been to Gorakhana and hadn't known anyone that fit Sammy's description. Yet being Buddhists, were believers in reincarnation and therefore not completely surprised by the boy's story. Investigations, including one conducted by a professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia, confirmed that as many as 60 of the details of the life of Sammy Fernando, who indeed had lived and died 6 months before Suyuth's birth, just as Suyuth had just said. When Suyuth was introduced to Sammy's family, he surprised them with his familiarity of them and his knowledge of their pet names. This is one of the strongest cases of reincarnation on record. That's even giving me shivers up my spine, that it's true. You know, that feeling of, ooh, spirits around. I get it up my right hand and up my neck and sometimes down my back. Do you get that feeling when you feel as though something is connecting or spirit is around or something a bit woo-woo is just going, ooh, shivery tingles and this, that and the other. So, I'll just finish off this part. Past life regression does not always serve people. What's in the past should be left in the past, unless you are mentally stable enough to look at it objectively and learn. Ensure that you are not the sensitive type that takes past lives on board. This is not necessary, and that is why they are in the past. So I've heard of other people go through past life regression and they end up basket cases. They've opened too much or too soon, or the kundalini and the past life has all come into their mind and boom, the energy is just too much for them and they just can't be going back to their old ordinary life, if it was ordinary. So something has to be careful when you're looking into past lives. It is just a past life. You can learn from it. Oh, I used to be a cobbler. Great, no wonder I love shoes. Or, I really like cheese and dairy. Was I a farmer previously? So those things kind of link. I love numbers. Perhaps you're in the numbers game, the accountancy or the gambling or what else is numbers? Selling and buying on the stock exchange. So it may be just past similarities that will help you gravitate towards what you feel is right. And it will also give you clues and ideas as to where you were before. So have a think and have a feel and just notice if your dreams, when you ask before you go to sleep, show me a past life, please, Spirit, then maybe you'll get shown. Worth a try.